Hey, good evening. Normally I'm out walking, but I made a video out there walking, but I was so darn out of breath, you couldn't make out what I was saying. So I'm now sitting here, a rare view of my work from home station. Got men of renown there on the wall. My brother-in-law blessed me with that picture. You know, I was thinking there while I was walking that, it's been a week, maybe two. I don't know. The time moves so quickly that I'd gone out and I was thinking, oh my gosh, and I took the same path as I normally do. And it just seemed twice as difficult to actually do it. So I guess I just need to keep pushing. But as I was going out through the neighborhood, I was struck by how peaceful, how quiet, still it was. I mean, there was some kids out playing, there was dogs barking. Of course, I took my little yapper and he barked half the time. But I was just like, man, such a beautiful day. It's nice weather. And then I got kind of happy about that for a second, and then something came over me that made me sort of sad. I don't know, who all watches this, if anybody. But I tell you, if you remember, if you were around during 9/11, you know exactly what you were doing and where you were, and that terrible emotion that seemed to just overwhelm people with fear and dread and and the lack of understanding of why. I think that was probably the biggest thing that shook me was the why. What was the real reason for it? And of course that launched into years and years of war. Just senseless. And I'm standing there and I just can't kind of come to a stop, and I was looking around and I got sad a little bit thinking about these poor folks in Israel, and quite frankly, even those the folks in the Palestinians that are in Gaza. The radical terrorists that launched this, backed by Iran or whoever, they had just, it seemed like just one thought in mind, and that was to do as much damage as they possibly could in a really short period of time in what was seeming like a very still and calm and peaceful time and a peaceful day in Israel. I don't see a lot of peace in the hearts of terrorists. There's no peace. They never seem to have peace. They always seem like they're wanting to stir things up, and you see all on the news all around the world these folks that support Palestine and support the atrocities, and you just look on that and you think, how? Why? That same wonder comes back on the worst day in history in my life, my 53 years, the worst day that I've lived through personally from a spiritual and natural perspective was 9/11. And I lost my dad. My dad passed away, and that was a very difficult time. But it didn't leave me with the wonder why. I knew why. the pain set aside, I understood why. I couldn't reconcile the why on 9/11, and I can't reconcile the why with what's going on now. And and I was telling my wife that she doesn't follow these things like I do, and I don't have my finger on the pulse of it by any stretch of the word, but I do look at things and try to see things from a heavenly lens. And I asked a good friend of mine about it who is Jewish. And, he gave me his take on it, and it kind of threw me a little bit, and I see his perspective. He spoke about it actually on Sunday too at church, and I see his perspective that the Israelite folks, the Jews, have to at some point cry out to God. I by no means say they called this upon themselves. I don't know. I am not a theologian. I don't even pretend to be. This fella has taught this for 25 years and can say it much more eloquently than me, and I'm not even going to try to tear it up. I'm just going to say it all comes down to they have to cry out for God. And the steps that are going to be taken and the actions that take place and the events that occur between now and when Jesus returns, I have a feeling it's going to be much worse than this. And we as a people, the Gentiles and the Jews alike, we have to be ready, and we have to be ready to cry out for God no matter what our situation. And so in my why, in my wonder of what's going on, that's what I'm going to do. And that's what I would encourage anybody else would do. Again, I might be the only one that listens to this. I don't know. I have no following. But anybody that hears this, I would encourage you just to stop looking at this thing from a natural perspective, because it doesn't make any sense. It will never make sense. Looking at this from a natural perspective, you'll never be able to figure it out. You can guess. You may even come close, but you won't figure it out. Only from a lens of heaven will this even remotely make sense. And so that's the lens I'm going to try to look at this through. And when 9/11 happened, I didn't have a very strong spiritual walk. I didn't understand a lot of things that I do now. And so nobody talked to me about that. So it's a little different now, but this isn't quite as close to home. But make no mistake, if Israel fell, that model would be duplicated all over the world. Make no mistake. Israel has one of the most elite fighting forces there are, and they're using it, I'm sure. They have the Mossad, their secret service, that could come in and snatch you and you'll be gone, and nobody would ever even know they were there. I mean, was it 1967, I think it was, or 72, I forget the dates, of the 6-Day War. All these countries around them thought they could take them out. I don't understand why they keep trying, but they will. They have for centuries on top of centuries, generations on top of generations. They've tried to annihilate these people. It hasn't worked. And I don't think it's going to work now. Peace.